You are listening to Queen Macabre.
Hi, I'm Katie. Welcome to Corn on the Macabre. And this is
Hunter.
And we're doing this for the second time because we just learned we did this for 30 minutes and the camera was not recording.
We love it.
You love to see it. So I have some unfortunate news that Kelly will no longer be joining us just due to personal reasons, just a lot of stuff going on in life.
She's busy like traveling the world and shit.
Yeah, she's always traveling.
Yeah, so don't feel too bad for her.
No, and we're still the best of friends. And she's still going to come onto the show every once in a while and just still be a part of things. So she's not gone, but for now you have me and Hunter. Today we're going to be talking about trapped. It's just situations where people are trapped. You are trapped. I'm trapped. Someone else is trapped. And
we're all trapped in reality, really, if you think about it.
We really are. And while I've never really been in a situation in which I felt trapped outside of that one awful job I did as an extra.
Oh my god.
Where I was like isolated and had nowhere to go, and I got hypothermia because the industry doesn't know how to treat people like people. That's the only time I can really think of like being trapped.
I got stuck in an elevator for 10 minutes, but I don't really think that counts because all the lights were on and I had my phone and I just texted the maintenance guys. The elevator had stopped and the elevator only went up one floor, so it wasn't like in danger of falling really far or anything. It was probably like 8 feet off of the like actual ground. That's probably the extent of me being trapped.
You good, Cheese?
Cheese has something to say.
He went, wah. Yeah, so I've never been stuck in an elevator. I do remember reading somewhere at one point that no one's ever actually, like, died due to an elevator falling, like Tower of Terror style.
That's interesting.
But people have died in elevators in other ways.
Yeah, I feel like there have to be so many, like, safety measures so that the elevator doesn't fall.
I don't know, man. I don't know elevator science.
Elevator science.
I do feel bad for that dude who got stuck at work in his work elevator for 41 hours. He was going on a smoke break, got on the elevator, got stuck, and just nobody came to fix it for 41 hours.
And that also, like, because a lot of elevators aren't like conditioned spaces, so like if it was like a really cold winter, really hot summer or whatever, like most elevators aren't conditioned spaces, so if you're there for like a really long time, like I bet it would either get like really hot or really cold, along with just like smelly.
Yeah,
like it's so smelly
and you have to pee.
Very unhygienic. I don't like that.
Yeah, not good. I did originally want to talk about this really interesting couple that was trapped on the Amazon River, but I couldn't remember if I had already told you that story. But I did kind of want to tell it a little bit anyways.
Okay.
Because I just... Okay. But I mostly am going to talk about, like, people trapped in caves and, like, spelunking and, like, cave diving and all those terrifying things that you love so much.
My favorite.
Hunter's fiance loves to go, or wants to go cave diving.
He wants to go cave diving. He does a lot of scuba diving and underwater photography.
Big adventure guy.
And big into adventure, which is great. I love that about him. But he also really likes to put himself in dangerous situations for fun. And, I don't. So it's a little bit of a sticking point. We're still working on coming to some sort of solution for that.
Well, maybe I can help you come up with some points to fight against it, because at least one person dies in every story.
That's great. So I can give him, like, this happened, and this person died, and this happened, died. And then he'll be like, okay, maybe I won't go cave diving now. So
maybe.
That's probably not how
it's probably not how it's gonna go.
But it can't hurt.
But not me.
And
it's like, but yeah,
that would never happen to me.
I had this issue where I had this assumption of this would happen to me. This would absolutely happen to me, and I'm not gonna risk it.
I think that's just called self-preservation.
There's so much life I've lived, and so many times I've been like, I'm going to choose to not do this because I'm totally the asshole who would get stuck in a cave. I would drown in the rapids. I would do whatever.
Like, every story, like, especially, like, being into true crime, like, every true crime story, every person is like, you hear about this all the time, but you never think it'll happen to you. Like, every single person says that.
Be a little more self-centered and assume it will happen to you.
It will happen to you.
Just be a little...
It 100% can happen to you.
Just be a little more narcissistic.
Yeah.
And assume everything will happen to you.
Maybe the world does revolve around you, and everything will happen to you.
Maybe. There's a possibility.
Yeah. So...
It's a little healthy dose of that.
Yes.
So this couple was a big adventure couple, and in like 1978, 79, sometime in the 70s, for their honeymoon, they decided to go to the Amazon because, okay.
I would love to go somewhere really hot where I'm going to sweat a lot.
I don't know what time of year it was. I do assume it was
Amazon.
like, yeah.
Wouldn't it just be like hot and sweaty forever?
Probably, you're right. I mean, it
like
wasn't cold.
Atlanta on like late August, like 4 p.m. That sort of like soggy heat.
The soggy
the
wet.
soup, the air soup.
A place
times like 1 billion though, because it's the Amazon.
A place that's really hot and humid and sweaty that you don't think about it being hot and humid and sweaty? Japan. Oh my god, it's just like Georgia. It's just, oh my god. Like, I remember going there and being like, I'm dying. I sweat through, we were there in summer, it was June. Yeah. I sweat through everything I had. And not a good time when it came to Japan, the temperature.
I think of like spring and cherry blossoms and stuff.
I'm like, how do they wear those long ass like yukatas in the summer for festivals?
I think of, like, winter.
So hot.
I think of like winter there because every anime there's always like winter and it looks beautiful.
They do have winter and it is beautiful. But in summer it's fucking hot. It's fucking hot as shit and it's humid as fuck because it's technically an island.
It's an island.
It's hot as fuck.
Yes.
That
makes sense.
Luckily, I had some sort of, like, I'm used to it from being from Georgia. If I was from anywhere dry, I think I would have been dying. Yeah. Like, if I was from, like, Arizona or Nevada or something, I would have passed out from exhaustion or something, or dehydration.
Absolutely.
But luckily, living in Georgia, I'm used to breathing in my daily water intake.
Yeah. You just absorb it through the air like a sponge.
That's why our skin is so nice.
It's like all the TikToks where it's like you like wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, today's gonna be a great day, and you like get all cute and ready for your day. And you just open the door, and all of a sudden you're just drenched.
You just melt to just
but it's
water.
So accurate.
It really is.
It's so accurate. It's so gross.
So this couple's in the Amazon. Sorry, I sidetracked us to humidity in Japan.
I'm just so passionate about it though. Like, I can't not be.
So they were on a plane that it like malfunctioned, but they had to emergency land. It didn't crash land, and they emergency landed in this little town. The little town was like, you gotta wait like a few weeks, and they're like, well, we don't want to wait a few weeks. We want to go home now. They were trying to get to like a bigger city with an airport. That was their destination because their honeymoon was over.
I just feel like that's that moment in a horror movie where like you hear a noise and it's like, should I go investigate it or should I stay safe where I am? I'm gonna go investigate it.
These people decide that it would be such a good idea to build a raft and ride it down the Amazon River for 3 days because eventually water will take you to civilization and more people.
Could they not have like borrowed someone's boat or something?
I think that they looked into it and that for some reason there's a reason why they couldn't. Either it was too expensive or like there wasn't one. I'm trying to remember why there was a reason. But this dude there convinced them that they could do it. And the wife was like, yeah, adventure, let's go. Wowza. And they get 3 days of supplies. They have a tent on their big raft. They fill it with all the stuff. And on the second day, there's a storm. And everything is thrown overboard. And these people are stranded for like ever, like days, like way too long. And the reason why they're stranded is because the river flooded. And it took their raft off course onto stagnant water. Ooh. And they could see the river, but they couldn't get to it, and they were too scared to get into the water.
That would be so infuriating to be able to see, like, your way out, but you can't get there.
At one point, they saw an airplane, and they, like, thought the plane was, like, a rescue for them or something, and it wasn't, and they just, like, got so...
That would be just, like, soul-crushing.
The husband, Fritz, almost died. He was really close to dying. Fritz.
I love that.
I like that his name was Fritz.
Fritz.
Just a cute, I don't know, it's just like a cute preppy name. But they did both end up being okay. The way they got rescued was someone else in a boat was going down the river and happened to see them and was like, what the fuck? And rescued them and took them to the next town where
they got lucky.
Oh, they got so lucky. He was on the brink of dying from, like, just exhaustion and...
Starvation. And
real bad.
And, like, the Amazon cannot be, like, the most, like...
comforting
pure
place.
Water, like, drinking water.
It's like with all the shit in it. Oh, God. I always think of the parasites. That parasite that goes up your urethra.
I don't want that. I don't...
What I am going to talk about, though, is cave shit.
Cave shit.
We love
cave shit.
I looked up multiple cave shit stories.
I just see you Googling cave shit.
Anyways, so I read this story that happened in Kentucky in 1917, and the what the fuck part is towards the end. So there's this guy from Kentucky, Floyd Collins. He found this little cave called Crystal Cave in 1917.
Oh, that sounds very pretty.
I know, being so excited that he discovered a cave, he wanted to explore every inch of it because it was his. It was just cute. For 8 years, that's how familiar he was, but he was trying to explore new areas of it. For 8 years, he squeezed through its passageways until the day he got trapped. His lantern was going out.
This was in 1917?
1917, so it gets dark.
I also just feel like the equipment they had must not have been, like, super reliable.
Probably not. It's just, like actual rope and just little steel, like
what
are those things called? The little pick.
The hooks?
The little pick.
The little pick.
You like put it in. People use it for rock climbing. Yeah, you stab it in and you use it to pull yourself up.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever the fuck those things are
Us
called.
what that's called.
If someone tells us what those are called, I just imagine those and rope, and like a little helmet.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not even a flashlight. Like, it's just lantern. Like, just pure fire. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have little... It's 1917. No. They have flashlights. They have flashlights. Well, he had a lantern in this story. He didn't have a flashlight.
Well, maybe a lantern, like, it's an electric lantern.
It started to flicker. And he lost light. I thought it was...
Like a battery with, like, the
Maybe
fire.
it was. When
Fire.
did batteries come out? I don't know. No, electricity was
batteries.
like 1980, right? No. 1880. 1880. Fuck me.
Electricity is gonna be a big new thing.
We're only 40 years into having electricity.
Look how far we've come. Amazing.
I don't know. He had a lantern and it flickered, and I assume that meant fire. So he was climbing his way up a tight passageway when he knocked a 27-pound rock loose. It came crashing down onto his ankle, pinning him into place.
Ooh. And like your ankle is one of like your strongest like ways to move underwater, like your legs.
Well, he's not underwater. He's in a cave.
Oh, cave.
He's just normal
maybe
cave.
It was a fire lantern.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I thought he was underwater. I thought
Yeah, he was underwater with a candle. SpongeBob style.
That's why I was like, what? Okay.
This is a above water on land cave.
Okay.
He has a lantern. A rock comes loose. He's pinned for 17 days. 17. This man
That's 2
hangs
weeks.
in there. How he hangs in there, I don't know.
Did he bring, like, food and stuff with him?
I am kind of assuming, because I don't see
Had
any other
to
way.
have.
Or somehow people were getting food to him, but like
Yeah.
throwing it at him. They're just like, here you
Here,
go.
buddy.
We'll drop it in the hole for you. So rescue teams tried to save him. Nothing they tried worked. In time, they brought in miners to dig a shaft to him, believing the only hope was to make a new way out. They didn't think he could get out the way he got in. While he waited, Collins was becoming a celebrity, a local celebrity. Tourists from all around were coming to see his rescue. There is tourists for this.
That's such a, like...
fucked up thing. Oh, on top
like
of this, there were booths set up selling food, drinks, and souvenirs. Like, literally, can you imagine getting stuck in a cave and someone being like, all right, hot dogs, get your hot dogs. See the guy in the cave. He's about to die. He's stuck. Maybe chuck a hot dog at him. They were selling souvenirs. And they had little keychains being like, I guess, they still have house keys. Like, little keychains. They don't have car keys, but,
like
here's
like
your
little buttons and stuff. Like,
little buttons of Guy in the Cave, 1917.
help, I'm trapped. on a
Floyd
button.
Collins, get your Floyd pins, get your Floyd dolls,
Get
your
your
Floyd merchandise.
Floyd. That's the shittiest thing I've ever heard. I know that, like, people would, like, just, like, gawk at, like, crime scenes and stuff in the 1920s, but I've never heard of anything where, like, people were just, like, actively, like, celebrating.
Selling souvenirs, selling
Having
food,
a
selling
fun
drinks.
time.
It's a picnic. It reminds me of the Civil War. They know the fields that they're going to be battling in. It's planned ahead of time. It's kind of like, hey, I'll meet you here at 3 o'clock in front of the school, but, like, a war.
Yeah.
And so people literally in the South, not the North, because the South are just their own brand of dumb, had picnics to watch it. And they soon learned that was a horrible idea, and they all ran away.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, I forgot which battle it was specifically, but it was like, God, I just remember my, like, history teacher had, like, pictures of, like, the place where it was kind of almost like a valley.
So it was, like, bleachers on either side.
So people were, like, at the top with, like, a little picnic basket and, like, blankets and stuff, and they were just gonna watch the war. It's fun. It's like, what the fuck, you idiot?
But I guess, like, what else do you have to do?
Oh my God, nothing else. I mean, look at the Coliseum. Like, we've been doing this forever.
Yeah, I mean...
Now we have Squid Game, and it's fictional. And it's better that it's fictional. Let's get our violence out through fiction, please.
I love that.
I like that I have video games instead of, like, the urge to join a, like, gladiator arena.
Yes.
Like, it's just better this way.
Yes.
So unfortunately, he died.
That's so sad.
It's really sad. It's really fucked up that people profited off of this poor guy. And then he died.
Oh no.
And he died. It wouldn't have been as awful if he had lived, but he died, so it's even worse. On the 18th day in the cave, hypothermia. So I think they were getting food and water to him, but he died of hypothermia.
What a shit way to go.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
Man.
This one was just dark. So this is about a diver in 2002. And
we're underwater?
we're underwater now.
Okay, now we're underwater.
And 2002, we've had electricity for 20 years. Since 1980. Oh, I'm about to cry. So in 2002, there were some divers who found a body at the bottom of an underwater cave in Croatia, and it wasn't like bones, like it was still a body.
Yeah.
177 feet below the surface, so it was pretty down
That's
there.
deep.
He was alone, but his diving mask had been removed, and there was a 12-inch knife lodged into his chest. So it looked like a homicide, like someone went down there and was like, "I'ma fucking kill you."
In a fucking cave? That's too much work.
In an underwater cave.
Too much work.
Well, it's not actually what
but
happened.
also brilliant. Oh, okay.
It would be brilliant, but
It
it's
would
not.
be really
but it's not what
brilliant.
happened. I know, right? They were like, "Oh my God, we have a murder." No, it's actually way more depressing. At first, they were like, oh, this was a fucking murder. What the shit? Because what the hell? But it turns out this guy, MK, had gone cave diving with friends.
His name is just MK?
I think they didn't release the, like, name publicly because he's from the Czech Republic, and I think their records are different. Okay. Because he's not American.
Yeah. Wait, it was on September 11th, 2002. Ugh.
Yeah, but he's not American, so he doesn't remember.
Cursed day, though.
Yeah, it is a cursed day. They were like, oh, this is a homicide. No. They found that it was darker. So he had gotten lost in a maze of the cave. And his oxygen ran out. With no air left, he started drowning. And he swam up to an air bubble between two rocks and tried to breathe it in. But it wasn't enough to save him. He knew he was going to die here. And he knew it was going to be horrible and painful. So he stabbed himself instead. Because it was just too much to bear. And honestly, I don't blame him. I think I'd rather bleed to death than drown.
I've heard drowning is, like, very peaceful, though.
I don't know.
Saying, like,
to me, drowning seems, like, terrifying, and, like, it takes a while, because you suffocate. Because suffocation in general to me seems awful. I think I'd rather bleed to death if I had to pick. Like, I'd rather stab myself. I would actively stab myself before drowning.
Don't like that. I don't like that.
I know. It was chilling. I was like, fuck, dude.
I just like the absolute, like, terror, but also just, like, helplessness. There was another story that's basically the same thing, but instead it was a cave that ended up flooding. Okay. So they weren't underwater. They were above water. Uh-huh. And what happened is it ended up flooding. And there was, like, 9 of them. Uh-huh. And one guy was able to get his head up enough and he got stuck between 2 rocks to breathe air. And then it filled up, and everyone behind him drowned. But by the time they found him, he suffocated anyways, because there wasn't enough air. But his head stuck. Terrifying. Cool. Yeah, there's a bunch of stories like that where it's like you go into a cave. Like, there's another story about some tourists who went to a cave, and the locals were like, hey, don't do that, it's gonna rain, the cave's gonna flood. And they were like, it's not that bad. And they go, and everyone except one woman died. Her and her husband had climbed up on top of the rocks on the side and were holding on, while there's just, like, a huge rush of water that just swept everybody towards the back of the cave. Oh, the survivor's guilt she must have had.
And her husband was convinced that he could swim in the water and chose to get into the water, and she just watched it take him.
To swim where?
I don't know. I think he thought he could fight the current to, like, get help or something to get to the front of the cave. Mm-hmm. I'm not super sure. And so it wasn't...
if he had just stayed on the rock with his wife, he would have lived.
Mm-hmm. She was rescued 8 hours later. Which, like, if you look at all the times everybody else in these stories have been stuck, that's nothing.
I mean, it's still terrifying, 100%.
Oh, yeah, but
also,
she didn't realize that they were all, like, dead until, like, when they got her,
when she was rescued.
All of their bodies had already been recovered.
Oh.
And they were all in boxes.
Ooh.
And they were just, like, laid out in the grass. Or not the grass, but, like, in front of the cave. Yeah, these stories are real fucking sad town, man. Yeah. So the last one, also sad town. This is my last one where I was like, fuck, dude, because there were so many. There's another diving one that was about the rebreather killing this dude, and I was like, because he panicked.
Yeah.
So this dude goes diving with his friends, but the part where you get in the lake was iced over, so they cut in a hole. Oh. And they're going to come out the other side of this mountain because there's this cool underwater cave that goes through a mountain or whatever. And this guy got, like, minorly stuck, but he panicked about it. And, like, with the rebreather, for those of you who don't know how a rebreather works, is that it's supposed to be super great for scuba diving because it cleanses your carbon.
It recycles your air.
It recycles your air so that you don't ever technically run out of air.
Yeah.
Is the idea. The problem about it is that you have to keep very steady breath. You can't breathe too quickly. Otherwise, you're breathing back in the carbon monoxide. Dioxide?
Carbon dioxide?
Monoxide.
Dioxide.
The carbon dioxide. Fuck me, man. Anyways. It cleans cleans the carbon dioxide, turns it back into oxygen so you can breathe it in again. If you do it too quickly, you're breathing back in the carbon dioxide, which puts you in a really confused, lightheaded state, and then eventually you'll die and suffocate. And that is what happened to this guy. So this guy goes in, like, delayed after his friend and literally finds his friend's body. He panics. He dies.
No!
So then the third friend goes and is just like, holy shit. He panics, but he doesn't breathe. He breathes properly. And and the problem is that his friend's dead body is blocking the exit the way they were going. It's blocking the entryway. And it's like stuck, and he like can't get it to like move. Because the guy who got stuck panicked, stayed stuck. Yeah. And so the guy went to swim back and couldn't find the hole they cut in the ice, and he had to break through the ice to get out, and they never recovered the bodies.
They must have never watched Ice Road Trucker.
They must have.
I'm sorry, but if you watch Ice Road Trucker, you know not to fuck around with ice. It'll kill ya.
It'll kill you.
It's what I learned from Ice Road Trucker.
So there is a terrifying cave in Utah that has been cement sealed since. No. They've closed it up because they were like, nope. We're not fucking with this anymore. And it's called the Nutty Putty Cave.
How fun. What? Nutty
It's
Putty?
called the Nutty Putty Cave. It was named after, hold on, I know why. It's named after... for the way it looks, like it's mud and sand. It's like putty. I was reading museum facts.
Ooh.
.co.uk reporting it on Utah. So I guess for those of you who don't know, a spelunker is a person who explores and studies caves. Spelunking scares me. Never done it. I've been in one cave, Ruby Falls. That scared me.
I have spelunked before.
Yeah.
And it's called Raccoon Mountain, I think, or Raccoon Caverns. It's like near Ruby Falls. And it was when I still had my glasses and I didn't have contacts, which was the biggest mistake because they were a little too big for my face. And you're like constantly like down on your like hands and knees crawling, so my glasses kept fucking falling off of my face in the dark. And yes,
my glasses,
but like you have to wear like long sleeves and long pants, and they give you a helmet because you're literally just like wallowing in dirt. And they have like all these nicknames for like the little small crevices you have to squeeze through. Like one was called the birth canal because it's
have a birth canal in this.
Oh yeah,
that's what he was looking for. He was looking for the birth canal. And there was
like the nickel or something because it's like
you get the dumbest nicknames. I agree.
I have a theory that it's because white men are typically the ones exploring caves.
And they name it dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like that's the nickel. See, it's kind of nickel shaped.
Yeah, that's just my own personal theory. But
I agree.
It was really cool though because at one point they because you have your like headlamp, but at one point we got to this like cavern sort of area where it opened up, and we all turned off our headlamps, so it was like pitch black. Like it's the darkest dark you can ever experience because no sunlight. Like when I closed my eyes, it felt lighter than when my eyes were open. I was super like muddy and gross afterwards, but it was also like a super 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 well established cave, and everyone goes on the same track through the route through the caves all the time. If you got stuck somewhere, like, there were multiple routes that they could take to rescue you.
If I have to get down on my hands and knees and, like, army crawl through a space that's, like, just rock, that's a no for me. Big N-O. I'm too claustrophobic for that shit.
You wouldn't, like, no.
Hell no.
And there's, like, certain parts where you have to, they tell you, like, how to get through it, like, you know, like, put your right leg first and then turn to the right.
Absolutely not. I would absolutely not.
Yeah. It was kind of cool. And, like, some parts of it were, like, really beautiful. Just, like, the stalactites and everything. It's not necessarily something
you want to keep doing.
I felt really passionate about.
Yeah.
It was a cool experience once, and I think now I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, spelunking is not for everyone.
So Nutty Putty Cave is known for its notoriously narrow spaces, and it was first explored by Dale Green in 1960, who named them for their clay. It's in Utah, just know that. And John Edward Jones was 26 years old, and he was visiting his family for the holidays.
He was younger than us.
Unrelated, they are Mormon. He and his wife.
That's Utah.
He was well, I was confused that he was a father and married, and I was like, he's 26 though, and I was like, Utah, they're Mormon, and they are Mormon.
Things are different in Utah.
Anyways, so he was visiting his family for the holidays. He was with his wife and 13-month-old daughter. And he is an experienced spelunker. He had gone many times growing up, volunteered as a trapped victim for the Utah Cave Rescue to practice, like, rescuing people. The pure irony, which is an organization founded by his father. That's how into spelunking they are. Like, they're very experienced people.
So he felt really confident about...
Yes.
Like, if anyone was going to be able to do this safely... It would be him. He
felt like he was going to be the guy.
Okay. That's fair.
So, and he's also skinny. Like, he's 6 feet and, like... No, I guess not skinny. 6 feet, 160 is skinny. 6 feet, 200 pounds is, like, average.
That's slender.
So he's slender, but he's not, like, skinny.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, just know that's his height and weight. So, he hadn't been spelunking in years, though. And he just went in real confident. And so he went with his family members and 9 other friends at about 8 p.m. that evening of November.
They went at night?
They went at night.
I guess if you're going in a cave, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But they went at night for some reason. November 24th, 2009.
Oh my gosh, that's my birthday. Not 2009, but...
Well, that's just when they entered the cave. The group was split into the two. The children and few adults explored a less dangerous part of the cave, while the others decided to explore the cave a bit further, and it went downhill pretty quickly. About an hour into the exploration, John decided to find the entrance to the birth canal, a narrow path through which spelunkers must navigate very carefully. It's called the birth canal for a reason. Thing is that there's a lot of different narrow paths. He went into the wrong hole. He didn't actually go into the birth canal hole. It was the wrong hole. And so he started crawling using his fingers, hips, and stomach, but soon realized he had made a grave mistake. And the thing is he went head first, and it is angled down like that.
So all the blood is rushing to his head.
Yes.
And he can't. Gravity is going to be working
against
against
him.
Yeah,
so he's like...
And he just wedged himself in for... Oh, no. Oh.
So the narrow space that he crawled through was barely 10 inches across, like 10 inches wide and 18 inches high. So 10 inches is obviously less than a foot. I wish I had a ruler. I imagine it's like...
I would only be able to fit through that if
I straight up couldn't.
If I didn't have a bra on and if I didn't have a butt.
I straight up couldn't. I don't know how he did it. He must have... But the 18 inches high, I guess he kind of went in sideways is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But
Like 18 inches.
He must have been a narrow motherfucker. I don't know how he did it.
Well,
I wouldn't even put my head into that.
No.
Like... What?
I wouldn't go head first. Like, that doesn't make sense to me that you would go in, because then
I don't know,
you're gonna, like,
but that's...
land
There's a photo of his feet, and it's creepy.
I want to see.
So he had I will pull it up. He had no option to turn around, and the crevice engulfed him, and he could not move any further. Even though the Nutty Putty Cave was a very popular cave, people dived here... Cave dive? Is dive the right word? Dive is the wrong word. Spelunked. Spelunked is the correct word. Even though people explored this cave and it was very popular, it was not fully mapped. So he might have read the map wrong as well, thinking it was the birth canal when it wasn't. So, like, see how the birth canal is here?
Yeah.
It could have been something else, like, to the side that isn't on this map, that's smaller and narrower. He said he was on uncharted territory.
Oh, okay.
So his brother found him,
Oh no.
And he was trying to pull his calves because he had about this much sticking out from knee up, is about how far he was in.
Holy
and he tried to pull
shit.
him up by the calves, but it made him slide down even further.
Oh.
And so he's upside down with one hand beneath him and the other above him. So he's like this. So the first rescuer arrived at about midnight. So he got stuck at around 9 p.m. 12:30 a.m. is when the first rescuer showed up. So it's now November 25th.
And you have nothing, you have no way to, like, tell that time is passing.
So he had been there for 3.5 hours. And, she just tried to talk to him, tried to keep him going over the next 24 hours. More than 100 rescuers tried to get him free.
Holy shit.
And what the main thing they were doing was a pulley system. They were like, we're going to use rope. It's going to be a pulley system. And it was working.
No.
Also, they got the opportunity to feed him through IV tubes, by the way. That was another thing. So he was able to be sort of fed. They were trying to keep him hydrated, that sort of thing. But the thing they couldn't stop was the blood rushing to his head and his heart.
Yeah.
That was the thing, is they were like, they're keeping him alive so he wouldn't starve and dehydrate, but they couldn't,
His circulation,
they can't do anything about it. So this guy, Ryan Schertz, was one of the people who had been trying to save John. He was there helping him for 19 hours.
Oh.
And he was sitting with him, talking to him the whole time, trying to keep him conscious, trying to keep him from falling asleep. As they were doing the pulley system, it was working. They were getting him out. And, Ryan was still talking to him until the pulley system broke. Then they were pulling him slowly instead of one big pull because it was scraping up against him, so it was painful. So he would shriek out in pain, and they would stop and try to do a little bit more. And so they got him about a foot out of there. A natural arc through which the rope was fed broke, and the rope broke. A metal carabiner then fell and hit Ryan in the face, which caused him to bite his tongue in half. Like, there's the force of which, and it wasn't fully in half, but, like, his mouth was just full of blood, and he had to, like, get out of there. And so, so just, like, one tragedy on top of a fucking another.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so, that was just extra news. So, that's when they stopped with the rope and the pulley, because they had to take time to fix it. And so, at this point in time, it had been 27 hours. And eventually he stopped responding. A medical professional, crawled close enough to pronounce him dead due to cardiac arrest and suffocation. So the hole he crawled into had to have not had airflow. So that means
his body cut off his air.
Yeah.
He was so, like...
Yeah, so there wasn't, like, an exit.
Yeah.
This is another photo from Nutty Putty. That's called the Scout Trap. That's the name of that entry, that cave. Which looks terrifying. Hell no, are you fucking serious? So the Nutty Putty cave already had a dangerous history. So he wasn't the first person to get trapped. He was just the first and only person to have died. So in 2004. 2 teenage boys almost died in separate incidents in the same place where John was trapped because they thought it was that other cave entryway. Yeah. So in one of those cases, the rescuers took 14 hours to free a 16-year-old kid using several complex pulleys. And after the incidences, officials closed the cave for safety reasons, and it had only been reopened for 6 months until John and his family went to go in it. So it had only been reopened for only a few months, like 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
No thanks.
His body was never recovered. They filled it up with cement so people can't go in it anymore, and they put a little memorial for him. There's a little plaque there. So it's now considered a grave site.
That's just, like, tragedy on top of tragedy.
So part of why I kind of, like, freaked out at Ruby Falls, I didn't freak out while I was there, but it was the idea. It's what made me realize caves scare the shit out of me. I went to Ruby Falls, and, like, walking through it's whatever. They have it pretty carved out. It's pretty spacious, and the waterfall's weird and eerie, and there's totally some sort of fairy ring shit going on there. I don't know. It just is creepy. You've seen the waterfall, right?
Yeah.
Something about it just creeps me out.
Oh, I like it.
Something about the fact that they don't know where the water source comes from and it never stops.
I think that's cool. I think there are certain things in life that we just
I just felt
know.
like otherworldly and being like, I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Something's gonna trick me and like steal me and eat me. I don't know.
I went on a school field trip, so I was surrounded by a bunch of other middle schoolers. So that probably took any magic in the air.
Probably. I went
Out
with
of
like
it.
I was in that cave with like 4 other people.
No, it was
So
a whole school trip.
it was
so it was
real
like,
creepy because it was so quiet except for the water. And
oh
I
my
was
god,
like,
no, my
oh my
trip
god.
was so quiet. And I had my little disposable camera with me
Oh.
that I then dropped on the way out, and it was gone forever, and I was really pissed about it because I was like super excited about.
We should go back.
Because I was gonna put the pictures in my locker, obviously, as you do in
As
middle
you do,
school.
yeah.
Me and all my cool friends. I had proof that I had cool friends. And then it was gone, and I was so sad. And my mom got so mad at me because disposable cameras were not cheap.
I don't remember how much they were, like $20?
Well, I was in middle school and had no money, so everything was like really expensive to me.
I understand. So what freaked me out besides this waterfall just being eerie and weird was them telling of how it was discovered and how the caves were discovered. They were like, yeah, people just crawled through the tiniest crevice just to get through here. And I was like, they fucking what? And they like showed where they crawled through, and I was like, you couldn't pay me. I know you paid these people, but you couldn't pay me to do it. As you're just chipping away, hoping the mountain above you doesn't fucking fall. Are you kidding me? Hell no!
I mean, think about all the people who tried to like hike Mount Everest before the first person like successfully did it. Like
The fact that there's so many dead people on Mount Everest that you just see. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And the shoes. Ugh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
yeah, but like that, there are just people out there that it's like a weird thrill for them. Like they just the most ambitious people in the world.
They think nothing can touch them until something touches them.
Or
and-
like or it's like, you know, like the risk is worth it, you know? Like I feel like a lot of people like know the risk, but they're just like, it's worth it if I can just like get past it.
All right, Hunter, bring us back up from our depression of dying in caves.
Well, I mean, there's a lot less death, but it's still not great.
Okay, well.
But it's better. So I am doing the Barbara Mackle kidnapping.
I am not aware of this one.
Probably not. I wasn't either until I watched, surprise, A Crime to Remember.
A classic.
Who'da thunk?
Which
that I would get a story from A Crime to Remember.
I still haven't watched it. Sorry.
It's okay. So I got my sources from A Crime to Remember, to nobody's surprise, but also obviously Wikipedia, a website called frankweberauthor.com, websleuths.com, thesouthernvoice.com,
Oh my god.
and lindsaywilliams.org.
Must be a blog.
A lot of them seemed to be like true crime bloggers kind of thing. Okay, setting the scene. It is 1968. There's no electricity.
You were waiting for that. You were seriously waiting. Electricity had not been born yet, for it was to come in 1980.
Everyone has their kerosene lamps.
Oh my god, shut up.
They're sending smoke signals to each other.
But yeah, everyone was still surprisingly fashionable.
Okay.
What's up? You know, I always wondered, why did electricity mean short skirts? That's just sort of how that progressed.
Maybe you could just finally see better.
And you were like,
You know,
dead ass, I gotta see
People
it
hold
in the
candles
best
like
light.
up here. You don't hold candles like down there.
Yeah, but you have more fabric to light on fire if it's a candle. I like how all of a sudden the 20s hit and people were just fucking fed up. They were like, I'm naked now and you're gonna fucking deal with it.
Here are my fucking knees, bitch.
Fuck bloomers. Fuck long skirts. Fuck sleeves. Fuck they really took it all off.
Yeah.
Like, look at, like, a woman in 1910 and then a woman in 1920. Like, the flapper dress versus, like, the long, like, skirt and Victorian blouse.
It was a big old 180.
I absolutely like to think the pandemic from 1918 was part of it. They were just like, we're done with this shit.
That's not a terrible theory.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen what the current pandemic has done to society. So, it's 1968. There is electricity.
In case you were unsure.
And we are in Atlanta, Georgia.
Topical.
I know. Well,
local.
Technically, it's Decatur, but no one knows what Decatur is.
Well, my mom grew up there, so it's fine.
So we're in Decatur. Barbara Mackle, a 20-year-old Emory University student, is staying in a hotel with her mother, Jane. Jane had flown up from their home in Miami, Florida, to take care of Barbara, who had been sick with the Hong Kong flu, which I think is just a type of the flu. And it got a bunch of the Emory students, and they were all sick. And it was just a thing.
And it came from Hong Kong.
I guess.
Okay.
She's sick with the flu. Jane is taking care of her. 1968, the night of December 17th. In the early morning hours, around 3 a.m., Jane Mackle calls the police. When detectives arrive on the scene, she explains that Barbara has been kidnapped. That night, Jane had heard a knock on the door, and she explains to the detectives that when they knocked on the door, they said, "Police, open up." And so Jane cracks the door open enough, and she sees a man wearing a police hat. And he says that a young man driving a white Ford had been in an accident, and he was at the hospital and asking for Jane. Jane recognizes the car, the white Ford, as the kind of car that Barbara's best friend, Stuart Woodward, drove. Thinking it was an emergency because this person had relevant information.
So they thought, so this person clearly stalked them and knew what car their boyfriend drove.
So, thinking that her daughter's best friend is, hurt, she unlocks the door to let the policeman in. When suddenly she's thrown back as the man barges into the room, followed by a masked accomplice.
Oh, God, fuck.
Yeah. The accomplice, so the man who was wearing the police hat was tall, bigger build. His accomplice was much smaller, described as having the frame of like a teenage boy.
Oh, jeez.
Jane is thrown onto the bed and tied up. The intruders try to incapacitate her with chloroform, but either in the struggle they didn't do a good job, or for whatever reason, Jane remains conscious. So she is able to see that although she is tied up, she sees that the intruders are leaving, dragging Barbara with them at gunpoint.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah. It's not great. So Jane explains all of this to the police. As she's explaining this, the first person to arrive is Barbara's friend, Stuart Woodward. He and Barbara had been friends for years, and they go back together where they live in Florida. Their families are close. He's comforting Jane, but police are suspicious, seeing that it was his car that was described by one of the kidnappers.
Oh my God.
So, which, I mean, is a kind of fair assumption,
Why would the kidnappers, use their own car?
I know, but,
it's fucking 1968 logic. I'm pissed.
Then Barbara's father, Robert Mackle, arrives at the motel. He is a wealthy and well-connected businessman. He owned one of the most prominent real estate companies in Florida. So their family is really rich, really affluent, really well-connected. So well-connected that he calls his buddy, then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover.
What?
Yeah. So they are the cream of the crop. Family.
So they're rich.
They're rich. They're rich.
And that's why they were targeted. And they kidnapped their daughter.
Probably yes.
Okay.
In fact, definitely yes.
There's a ransom?
That's exactly. Stop!
Okay. I'm sorry, I'm guessing. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay. So he calls his buddy J. Edgar Hoover and demands to have the best people put on the case. And ever since the Charles Lindbergh kidnapping had happened, kidnapping had been considered a federal offense, not local or anything like that. So the FBI is immediately involved, and longtime FBI detective Schroeder arrives on the scene and speaks with Jane. She tells him everything, and the case quickly becomes really personal to him because he has 2 daughters of his own, so he can relate. Schroeder speaks with Stewart and asks about their relationship. So Stewart explains that they're just friends, and when asked if he has any ideas about why someone would take Barbara, he's like, well, it's obvious. They're rich, and someone kidnapped Barbara for ransom. And the detectives are like, oh, that's a really good point.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
God, I could have been a detective.
So Stewart is allowed to leave. They have nothing to hold him on, but he is still considered a person of interest and is surveilled by the police. All of this has happened in Atlanta. Meanwhile, back in Florida, a family friend who had been staying at the Mackle home receives a call at 10 a.m., so a few hours after all of this has happened. The caller quickly tells the family friend to look under a tree at the northeast corner of the home for information regarding Barbara, and hangs up. That's it. They don't identify themselves, nothing like that.
Oh my god.
They're just like, hey, go look under this tree.
Holy shit.
The police had been at the home talking to the family friend. So they go and look under this tree, and they find a beaker, like a science beaker, with a piece of paper rolled up inside.
Oh my god.
It's a ransom note.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Detective Schroeder, he is intrigued by the fact that this note was clearly already in place. You know, it's only been, 4 or 5 hours since the kidnapping?
Yeah, so it's obviously so pre-planned.
Pre-planned because this is 700 miles away.
Oh.
Like, it's not like they could have driven there and back or even gotten there at all in time to place the note there. It's either pre-planned or they have an accomplice in Florida. The note is creepy as fuck.
Oh.
It's long, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I am going to read the first part of it. Sir, your daughter has been kidnapped by us, and we now hold her for ransom. She is quite safe, if somewhat uncomfortable. We offer no proof of our possession of her at this time. It will arrive by mail in a few days.
Oh no.
Barbara is presently alive inside a small capsule buried in a remote piece of soil. She has enough food and water and air to last 7 days. At the end of the 7 days, the life-supporting batteries will be discharged and her air supply will be cut off. Yeah, so
Holy fuck!
Barbara had been placed in a wooden, fiber-reinforced box 2 feet underground, stocked with a small amount of food and water heavily laced with sedatives. The box had 2 air vents, so 2 plastic tubes running to the surface, a light bulb, and a fan. The 2 plastic tubes would not have been enough air for her to survive on its own, so there was an air pump, a battery-powered air pump.
Well, at least they knew, Jesus.
Yes.
Oh my god, okay.
But once the battery died on the air pump, no more air.
What if she put her mouth to the tube and breathed?
I mean, eventually she would still starve.
I mean, yeah, but still at least she'd breathe. I mean, you suffocate quicker than you starve.
Yeah, but the point is, eventually she would die. At this point, detectives know that they're on the clock. There is a literal deadline, if you will.
Fuck. That's so stressful.
The ransom note also included extremely detailed instructions, which is part of why I didn't read it, because it's the kind of bills, half of them have to be uncirculated, half of them have to be circulated, newer than 1950.
Oh my god, why?
Because it's always that the money could be tracked.
Oh.
So clearly the person who had typed the ransom note, really knew their shit, but super, super extremely detailed instruction on what needed to happen for Barbara to live. The note instructs the Mackles to gather $500,000, which is $3.6 million today.
Holy fuck, how much was this family worth?
fucking a lot.
Oh my God.
In $20 bills, and then take out an advertisement in every Miami area newspaper reading, quote, "Loved one, please come home. We will pay all expenses and meet you anywhere at any time, your family." Signal to the kidnappers that the family had the money ready to go.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. It goes on to say on the night the newspaper advertisement would appear, Robert Mackle was to wait for a call from the kidnappers where they would name a drop-off time and place. Robert was instructed to wear an all-white suit and arrive in his Lincoln. So the kidnappers knew what kind of car he had.
They knew everything.
Yeah. Detectives set up in Florida, tap into the phone lines, and they wait for... this is random instructions, but I think it's supposed to be ransom instructions.
Oh, I see.
They just wait for some random instructions.
Yeah, whatever. Just throw some shit in there.
They take out the ad in the paper saying, that they have the money, basically. December 19th, 3 a.m., the kidnappers call and give a location. And Robert has the money, so he leaves immediately. Everything seems like it's going to plan. Except the FBI hadn't told the local police in Florida
Oh my God.
what was happening, but the local police didn't know what was going on. All of a sudden, over the police radio, a call comes in that a suspect has been seen running with a suitcase, and the police are in pursuit.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
God, if I was that girl's parents, I'd be like, no!
Yeah. The man drops the suitcase and runs away. He is not caught. But the police recover the money in the suitcase. So the kidnappers
the FBI is like, you idiots! And they're like, but we're doing our job!
Yeah, so the kidnappers now don't have their money, and the Mackles are terrified because now they have no incentive to tell the Mackles where their daughter is. The next morning, a letter arrives to the Mackle home that had been postmarked from the day before at a local post office, which means that the letter had been sent from Miami the day before, which meant the kidnappers were, in fact, in Miami, or at least one of the accomplices was.
Yeah, somebody was.
Yes. Inside the letter, the FBI find a picture of Barbara holding a sign that says kidnapped.
She looks dead, honestly. I know she's not, but...
It's scary. Like, it looks like a coffin. Like, it's, like, padded.
I mean, yeah, she's essentially
Isn't
in a
that-
coffin.
Yeah. The Mackles are desperate. After the botched first drop-off attempt, the FBI has Robert Mackle issue a press release that is a direct message to the kidnappers explaining that he had nothing to do
with the local police.
with the police, with what had happened. He had no knowledge or involvement. He wanted to cooperate, let the kidnappers know that he was still willing to get them the money. So it got put in every newspaper, got aired over the radio.
Cannot believe I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah. While Robert Mackle is doing all of this press release stuff, the Miami police had found the car left behind by the kidnapper after he had escaped from the police, running away. So he had abandoned his car. Inside the car, they find rope, masking tape, a ski mask. They find a key to the Roadway Motel, which is where Barbara and her mother had been staying. They also find pictures of a man. Most of them are intimate pictures, but in one of the pictures in particular, the man is completely naked except for a police hat strategically placed
on his penis.
Yes. Covering his dick.
So
And the FBI remembers that Jane Mackle described the man at the door as having worn
a police hat.
A police hat. So at this point, they're like, okay, this is the guy. So the vehicle is combed over by crime scene technicians. They gather fingerprints and fibers. And it is discovered that the car is registered to a man named George Deacon. When asked, the Mackles do not know anyone named George Deacon or recognize his pictures. No one in the area seems to know who he is either. While this is happening, the kidnapper calls the Mackle home with a second drop-off location. So they are relieved because this is they're getting another chance to see their daughter. Robert Mackle completes the drop-off without incident, and everything goes to plan. But there's still just this fear, like, the kidnapper could just take the money and never tell them anything.
Yeah.
Like, there's really nothing
But why would the kidnapper go to such lengths to put her in such a crazy fucking box if they weren't going to tell him anything?
True. But, like, at this point, the guy is clearly fucking nuts. So, like...
Yeah.
It's so scary to think about.
I just can't imagine, like, going to such lengths to make sure she lives for exactly a week and then just letting her die.
Everything goes off without a hitch, but hours pass after the drop-off and the kidnapper has not called.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so, like, the waiting.
I guess they're counting their money. Fucking assholes.
So, as the Mackle family is waiting for news, FBI Detective Schroeder discovers that a man named George Deacon works at the University of Miami Institute of Marine Science. Deacon's boss explains that he hired Deacon 6 months prior to pilot boats for marine research expeditions. And not only was Deacon a talented pilot and engineer, part of his job description was creating self-contained ventilated boxes used for transporting animals over long distances.
Wow, I wonder who did this.
What a coinky dink.
Guess who owns a police hat? And has an OnlyFans.
This guy would.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. He would be traced back through his OnlyFans.
He's an entrepreneur, you know?
Jesus.
So, Detective Schroeder also finds out that Deacon is close with a Honduran graduate student named Ruth Eismanshire?
He got a student to help him?
Eismanshire. He was young.
Oh my god,
He was
okay.
like 20-something.
Still, though. Oh my god. Okay, continue.
Well, so when Deacon's boss is describing Ruth to the detectives, it rings two bells because Jane Mackle had described one of the kidnappers as being very slight, and Ruth was described as being about 5 feet tall. So she was very petite. And one of the kidnappers had been described as having a Spanish accent when they called the first time to give the drop-off location.
Yeah.
And Ruth is Honduran and speaks Spanish.
Ah.
So things are really lining up. Additionally, a local man calls the police and says that he had just bought a trailer from Deacon the night before at an extremely low price. He said that Deacon had been in a rush, seemed eager to get rid of the trailer, and the guy thought it was a little weird, but he didn't really think anything of it. And then that morning, he had seen in the news about Barbara, and he was like, I think I should call this in. So he reported the trailer. Police come and check it out, and in the trailer, they find letters referencing George Deacon, but also letters referencing someone named Gary Christ.
Gary fucking Christ.
Gary
fucking
Christ.
Gary.
Gary.
I'm imagining Gary the snail with the evil mustache and his master plan.
Don't do Gary the snail dirty like that.
I'm sorry.
No.
I just imagine him with
I
a
know.
bowler hat on his shell with like a big evil mustache, like.
When the FBI look up Gary Christ to see who the fuck this guy is, they discover that he is a 23-year-old California prison escapee who has been on the run and is known for stealing cars. Agents run the fingerprints from George Deacon's car against the fingerprints in Christ's file, and they match. George Deacon is Gary Christ. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, fuck!
I know. Gary Christ was known to be extremely intelligent, very good looking. So he could easily, very like charming, so he could kind of easily get his way.
Oh my god! How did he faked an entire identity?
Yep. At this point, it has been almost 4 days that Barbara has been in a box underground. Finally, the FBI receives a call. It is driving directions to an area outside of Atlanta, which is about 20, and the spot is about 20 miles away from where Barbara had been initially kidnapped.
Do we know where?
We do, and I'll tell you about that later. So, agents immediately go to the site, and they begin searching. They're pretty discouraged from the get-go because the area is heavily wooded. It's pretty rural.
Looking for tubes sticking out of the ground. Right.
It's the directions were very vague. So even if they did find Barbara, the chances that she was still alive are still slim because the ransom note said she was in this box with all this stuff, but she arguably could have been anywhere in any state.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
like they probably like, this person's insane. Maybe their box didn't work.
Yeah, so like who's to say that she's still alive? It's been 4 days at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievably, an agent finds 2 tubes sticking a few inches out of the ground. If they hadn't seen those tubes, they never would have found her. Agents began digging. Some had brought shovels. Others were just like digging with their hands. They're calling out her name, trying to see if they can hear anything, when all of a sudden they hear a really soft knocking sound. Barbara is alive, unharmed, and conscious.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the PTSD she was having from being in a fucking box for 4 days.
J. Edgar Hoover personally calls the Mackles to tell them that their daughter is alive.
Oh my god.
Yes. So, Gary Christ is pretty quickly captured by police. He wastes no time trying to lie. He owns up to all of it, and explains that his accomplice was Ruth. He basically, I get the feeling that he was one of those, like, fuck yeah, I did this. Like,
Yeah, he bragged about it. I mean, it's a lot
Yeah.
of work. Look at the fucking effort,
yeah,
man.
and like the amount of evidence they had against him,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
he never stood a chance. But police had expected to find Ruth with Gary, and they had not.
Was she put in a box?
No.
Okay.
No.
I thought maybe after a while he got really into it and just
Surprise,
kept putting
everyone's
women
in a box.
J. Edgar Hoover wakes up the next day. He's in a box.
After some time on the run, she is captured in Oklahoma. When she is brought,
She was out of there. She's
Yeah,
like, bye.
She said, "Fuck this." When brought in by police, she explains. She had a written statement, like already prepared, ready to go. She explains that she and Gary were in love. She knew him as George Deacon, though. She did not know about his secret identity. They worked together. They fell in love, and she got swept up in Gary's dreams of committing the perfect crime. And she went along with his plans. So he's just telling her, like, hey, I think it would be really cool if we put someone in this box and got rich off of it. And she's like,
I
fucking
mean,
yeah, why not?
If the local police didn't fuck it up, it might have actually worked.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like it actually would have worked. So honestly, the local police fucked it up, but they actually saved the day because the car got abandoned.
They got lucky.
Yeah.
It really was, honestly, a very well thought out plan. Very well
luckily, the local police were doing their job.
Yeah. She explained that during the botched drop-off attempt, both she and Gary had been in the car, but they had gotten separated. And they had agreed...
Because he ran off.
Because he ran off. And they had agreed to meet back at the car, but when she goes back to the car later, she sees it's crawling with police, and she thinks that Gary has fucking ditched her and she's on her own. So she runs off to Oklahoma thinking that he's done with her.
Oh,
which
wow.
Which he was,
I mean,
to
yeah,
be
he
fair.
didn't go and find her.
Right. So she explains that Gary Christ had done months of research to pick the perfect family to target and choose Barbara as his victim, and stated that he was looking for a rich, tough-minded female. Someone who could stand up to the trauma of being buried alive.
Wow, that is the most fucked up backwards compliment I've ever heard in my entire fucking life.
Yeah.
Oh, because I'm not a fragile, wilted flower who faints at the sight of blood, I get thrown into a fucking box?
Yeah, both of them are arrested, needless to say, and they go to jail. What is the most amazing thing about all of this to me is that after all of this, Barbara has been described as being peaceful and calm. She went on to write a book about her ordeal, and she describes the fear of being kidnapped and worrying about her family. She explains that, so in the picture where she's holding the kidnapped sign, she says, I just had to smile. I was thinking...
Oh, she's smiling in the photo?
She was smiling in the photo. She said, quote, I just had to smile. I was thinking, if Daddy saw it, I didn't want him to think they had hurt me.
Oh, I didn't realize she was smiling in the photo.
She was smiling, yeah. She was trying to put on a brave face for her dad.
To be fair, she was kind of like asleep the whole time with the sedatives and stuff, right?
Not the whole time.
But like a lot of it.
A lot of the time, yes. So Barbara also talks about how her mind went to really dark places. In her book, she writes, I said to myself, this is where I am going to die. 3 or 4 times I thought this is going to be my casket. When I got morbid, I would think of who would find me. Who and when and how. Maybe it would be a farmer or someone building something. In 10 years? 20 years? Can you fucking imagine?
Oh my god, yeah.
Because those are actually the thoughts I would have. Like,
yeah, no, actually, I'd be like...
Like, you have time to think about your death. She said the one thing that she held on to, and basically what she says is, you know, how she has managed to deal so well, was thinking about Christmas with her family. It was a few days away from Christmas, and she thought about trimming the branches of the Christmas tree, stringing up the lights.
Christmas time?
Placing the ornaments, the tinsel, like thinking about Christmas with her family.
Oh my god.
Mentally got her through, and she said that she never doubted that she would be rescued. Which is just like so sweet to me that
except she did doubt when she thought about how she was gonna die.
Well, like overall.
Okay.
But I just think that's so sweet that she like believed in her family like that and stuff. So by the time police
they have the money to do it.
Yeah. So by the time police had found her, she had run out of food and water. The light and fan had stopped working, and she had been in the capsule for 83 hours total.
Wait, the light and fan had stopped working?
Yes.
So the air pump wasn't working anymore? She was running out of oxygen?
The air pump was, but there was like
a fan for temperature control? Like...
I'm not sure exactly, but basically things were starting to break down and her time was running short.
Oh
so,
my god.
It was... Because the water that they gave her was like just a few cups worth.
Yeah, like if she rationed it, she could get through the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was buried in Duluth, which is wild.
Oh my god.
It's like it's very like close to home and just wild that like we know in
Yeah.
Marine University like the roadway in where they were staying where she was kidnapped is on Claremont and Decatur.
Oh my
like,
god.
Yeah, so like all of these like so many of these places are like recognizable.
Places we know.
Which is just so crazy to me. She is fine now and went on to live a very normal life. She married Stuart.
Oh,
they got
yay.
married and had
Cute.
2 kids.
Oh, look at you go.
She wrote a book called I think 83 Hours.
Like Trapped
or
in a
something
Box.
like that. 83 Hours or something like that. But she wrote a book. It got turned into a movie.
So the sleeping all the time thing, being trapped, also reminded me of a movie I watched recently that I was like, what the fuck? Holy shit. It's called Level 16 on Netflix. And I don't want to give too much away because it's another one of those psychological thrillers where you were like, what the actual fuck is going on? But it's about a very strict behavior school for girls.
Ooh.
I recommend it because it's wild. It had me guessing. It's one of those things where you're trying to figure it out as you watch it because the main girl is trying to figure it out as she lives it.
Ooh.
And
that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's like
16 hours.
No, level 16.
Level 16.
Yeah, 16. Which just means you're 16 years old. Like each age is a different level, and you like go up the next level. And the idea at this school is that it's like
leveling up is you get to live.
No, you get to be adopted by a family. Is what they tell you.
Oh.
They're like, when you're 16, you get adopted by a family and they love you forever and it's awesome. And this is just like a behavior school orphanage. And if you don't, follow the rules and behave right, no family's gonna want to adopt you. So they like mind control these girls with fear about like, if you don't behave, nobody will adopt you. And it's all they've ever known.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah, but it's honestly the main actress is like so good. I was like, oh my god, she was such a good cast. I don't know who she is. I wonder who this actress is. Oh, her name's Katie Douglas, I think. And she's 23. She looks like a teenager.
Well, good for her.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So Barbara survived. Everything's fine. But, like, it's still bad.
It's still bad. Don't kidnap people, put them in boxes.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't. So mine was definitely bad, but it had a much better ending.
Oh,
than
absolutely.
any of yours.
It was a wild ride, honestly.
I know, and that's why I, like, a crime to remember, like, every time, like, we have a topic, it's like, they are the crimes I remember. Like,
They are. That's the fucking crimes, man.
They do such a good job of telling the story, and, like, the reenactments are really good and tasteful. So good.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode. I guess just like, follow, subscribe, and we will see you guys
Check us out on
next
YouTube also.
time. Oh, that too. We're on YouTube. Maybe you're watching on YouTube. Maybe you're listening and want to see a video.
Then you can see Cheese the cat.
You can see Cheese the cat. You because he...
Did he jump off? Oh, no.
Yeah, that part wasn't recorded. You'll
Just
see
kidding.
Cheese the cat in a future episode, not this one. All right, keep it creepy.
Bye.